In my quest to find the perfect diffuser channel, I stumbled across another product that I may even be more excited about. Enter the Muzata edge-lit frosted acrylic aluminum panels. In this brief video, I'll unbox, set up, and show you a few more pictures and videos at the end. So each box comes with 2 panels that are each 4 feet in length. I'll slide the acrylic out of the profile so we can get a closer look at the design. Now the LED strip will slide in here, and when the frosted diffuser sits on top, the light will illuminate the material and create a perfect glow throughout. Next, you can remove the protective material that's on both sides of the acrylic. For the LED strips, I'm going to be using some BTF lighting WS2812B pixels that have 100 LEDs per meter. These lights work perfect, and they're the ones I recommend using for this product. And to get the full smooth neon look, it is recommended to use something that has at least 90 LEDs per meter, which is why I'm using these instead of my usual ones that only have 60. Now since the panels are longer than the 1 meter length that the LED strips come in, I'm going to solder some together so everything matches. Now I like using my own 18 gauge silicone wires, so I'm going to be cutting off the first and last LED to get rid of the ones that they come with. So here's my finished strip. I soldered my own wires to the front and back, as well as added about 21 additional LEDs. I won't go over step by step on that process since I already made a how-to solder video that you can watch that walks you through in great detail on what I just did. Now that our strip is ready, you can insert it into the channel at the bottom and feed it through to the end. Once the strip is in, you may be wondering how to get the adhesive off the back to make it stick. While it is possible to do, I recommend just leaving it on. The end results all look the same, and in my opinion, it's just not worth the time. Now all that's left to do is slide the diffuser in place. One thing I do want to mention is if you end up installing these somewhere that's going to typically be below eye level, make sure you flip the panels around from what you're seeing here so that the LEDs are on top shining down. And if you put them somewhere that will typically be above your eye level, have the LEDs at the bottom shining up like they're positioned now. As far as controlling the lights and getting everything hooked up, I'll be using WLED installed on an ESP32 board. I'll leave links in the description to a couple videos I previously made going over step by step how I get everything set up and connected in case you want to do it the same way. Now as you can see here, I did end up putting together a few more of these in the exact same way to have a little more fun when testing them out. So as far as I can tell, there's currently nothing else like this on Amazon, and even though they're advertised as a baseboard trim product, my mind is already thinking the endless ways I can incorporate them into future projects. Please let me know if you have any questions at all, and I hope you enjoy the final pictures and videos. In the last few years, RGB floor lamps have exploded onto the scene, and I know there's already a ton of DIY videos out there, but I still really wanted to try coming up with something myself. And since I want to be able to shine the light at the wall, as well as at times have it face me, I'm going to go with the design that more closely resembles the smaller profile base of the popular Govee Lyra versus the traditional V-shape that you've probably seen a lot of videos on already. So the first thing I had to decide on was what to use for a diffuser, and I ended up going with this V channel from Muzata. This one is 1 meter in length, but since you can also get this in 2 meter sections, I'll for sure be doing this project again once I get my hands on that size. Next, I had to come up with something for the base, and I ended up using 1 1/4 inch square dowels that I'll be cutting into different lengths. Now as you can see, these pieces of wood are about the exact same size as the profiles, which is going to be perfect for getting everything secured and set up. So right now I've already cut some of the squares into a few different lengths, and I'm just experimenting on different ways I might want to put them. And once I have a design that I like, I'm going to secure the pieces of wood together using just a little bit of your average wood glue. Here I'm going to take the diffuser and just line it up on top of one of the squares and make a mark at about 1/4 inch bigger than where the line would be if I were tracing it. Next, I'll be adjusting my blade to 45 degrees and cutting off the corner section where the mark was made. And since this cut won't be visible when installed, you don't need it to look perfect, so you could very well go slow and just use a regular handsaw if you'd like. Now that the 3 blocks have dried, it's time to get the aluminum diffuser added, and based on how tall you want the lamp to be, will determine where it gets secured. To attach the profile to the wood, all I'm going to be using is some super glue, and once applied, I just held things firmly in place for about 1 minute, and then I let things set for about an hour. So now I'm going to take that one piece of wood that we cut the corner off and butt it up right next to the bottom of the channel. I do want this piece of wood shorter than the other ones because this is where I'll eventually feed the wires out of. And hopefully you can see here that the gap in the wood should be just big enough so that the wires from the LED strip will be able to fit through. Now honestly, at this point the profile will stay upright and you could be done with it if you wanted to. However, I'm going to add a few more blocks of wood to give it a little bit sturdier of a base and a little bit more character. And I really had to fight the urge to get carried away, but I was proud of myself and only added 3 more pieces. For the lights, I'm going to be using some BTF SK6812 LEDs since these will have the individually addressable pixels that I want, as well as a separate LED just for the whites. I've already soldered my own 18 gauge silicone wires to the strip, and I won't go over that process since I already made a how-to solder video that goes over the easy steps of what I just did with very close-up footage and commentary that I highly recommend checking out if you're interested. And you certainly don't have to, but I'm going to use a little heat shrink tube to cover up the soldering points at the strip and to give the wires a little more reinforcement. So the next thing I'm going to do is look at the bottom of the base, and I want to determine where the best spot might be for the wires to come out. And I'm going to make a few marks for potential places I think might be best, but I won't be doing anything further at the moment. I'm also going to use this mesh type cord concealer to tidy up the wires from the LED strip. I probably should have gone with a little bit bigger size, but they'll still do the trick. Now, after giving it some thought, I think this little area right here is where I'm going to have the wires come out from under the base. And I didn't record this part, but I just used a little sander attached to a Dremel rotary tool to make the little groove. But you just as easily could have used a little saw or chisel for this step. Here I'm going to be feeding the wires through the little slot in the wood at the bottom of the diffuser. And once that's done, I'll be removing the sticky tape and securing the LED strip onto the aluminum profile. And in case you're wondering, there are 60 LEDs on this strip. Now the last thing to do before going over power and controller is to attach the milky white diffuser cover to the profile. Now right here it's a little hard to see, but this is where I use the little sander to make a small groove in the wood so that when this thing's sitting on the floor or a hard surface that the wire can come out but the base will still be flush with the surface. For power, I'm going to use a 5V 10A supply, and I've already cut off the barrel plug at the end and exposed the positive and negative wires. And since there's not much room to work, I'm going to use an inline Wago connector to extend the wires a little bit so it's not so cluttered. As far as controlling the lights, I'm using my standard WLED installed on an ESP32 board. I won't go over those steps since I already made a simple walkthrough video on how to get that installed that you can watch, and in the already mentioned soldering video, I go over how to attach the wires to the module like I have here. Next is the easy part. I'm using a 5-piece Wago connector, and I'll be inserting the red voltage wire from the power source and the red voltage wire from the LED strip into 2 of the 5 openings. Then I'll use another 5-piece connector and do the same thing for the 2 black negative wires. Now I'm just going to plug the red voltage wire from the ESP device into one of the remaining 3 slots on the connector, and then I'll do the same for the white ground wire, which will go into one of the 3 open slots that have the black wires in. And finally, I'm using a 3-section Wago connector to put the green data lines together. So the reason I use Wago clips with more openings than needed is now if I want to make a second floor lamp, which I did, all I have to do is put the 3 wires from that LED strip into the appropriate remaining openings and I'll be good to go. So that about does it for this project. I hope you enjoy the final pictures and videos, and as always, let me know if you have any questions at all. But it was just my mind, playing tricks fly by. My compass knows when I am wrong. I let it be my guide, keeping the fire in my eyes. Take and give, I'll take it away, just be and sink with me. Life at ease.
Don't get me wrong, I love LifeX, I love Philips Hue, I have LifeX Z strips on my desk, I have Philips Hue bulbs in the living room, and they've been the single most reliable bulb I ever used. But at that price, boy, I bet you hear somebody in the past say, hey, cheaper is not always better, but what if it is? Might be saving some money after this video.
Cheaper might be better.
We're gonna try to use everything we have in this box to create a custom LED strip that we could use on the bottom of these cupboards right here so you have some nice underglow. Now we get started. I don't even know what I'm doing. I just following a bunch of tutorials here, so they could feel free to follow along with me. I'll leave everything below in the description. Now we get started. So the thing is, if you're about to use this as one long continuous strip, you're definitely not going to need as much things as I have here right now, but I want to cut them up and make sure they fit under the cupboards exact now, boys. So I definitely needed a few more things. First things first, power supply. You need this one, not optional. Hey. A 20 pack of these connectors to connect the strip to the wires. I guess it's optional. I like the skin on my fingers. I don't want to burn them off trying to solder this, but I guess it's up to you. The strips itself, the SK6812, don't worry about the name, everything in the description. I personally went with it, although it's a little more expensive than the others because it have an individual LED for the white colors, which is something I needed because in the kitchen I really want the whites to be white and accurate now, boy. But I'll leave the both options in the description, don't worry. And it's actually coming a roll of 5 meters, so more than likely you're gonna have some extra left over for our next project. Hopefully. This little thing here have a long name again, ESP8266. You don't need to know what that means, you just need to know that it's very cheap. One of these is somewhere between $5 to $7 and it's gonna be the brains of the entire operation. And finally, some wire to wire up the whole thing. Now listen to my door burn down your house. I personally went with this 22 gauge wire. It worked for me. I have zero issues, no complaints, and especially because it comes in this roller white, I'll just leave past me to explain why. The kitchen white, so you can be a little lazy with the wire management if it's white. Nice. When I move out my parents' place, I'll buy this measuring tape because it seemed like a pretty mature thing to do. Mature. Cut off the end of the LEDs, just make sure you cut it on one of the actual cut points. Now that we have the first like LEDs cut to size, I figure it's a good time to tell you about the directional arrows on the LEDs. However, you decide to cut these up and join them back, you just need to make sure that the arrows remain following the same direction. When you jump in the car, you don't put it in drive to reverse and reverse to drive forward, backward. Just make sure they're following the same direction. Connect the LEDs to the wires with the little clips here. It's real easy to use. Just push the LED in one side, squeeze it very hard, push the wires in the other side, squeeze it very hard. Done. Alright, it's time to put the software on this little chip thing. I know it's looking confusing. It kinda is, but it also not at the same time. Just follow along and you'll be good. Plug it into your computer with a micro USB cable. Open your browser and go to install.wled.me. You'll be greeted with this page right here. Connect. You'll see install WLED come up. Click that right there. Boom. Install. And now it's flashing. You could officially call yourself a nerd now, boy. And that's it. Literally, it's done. That was all the steps. Connect it to your Wi-Fi when this box pop up. I know you can't see anything that's going on the screen, but I promise you that's simple. Now a quick little test we could do to make sure everything working. We can hit this power button right here and you can see this LED turn off. Hit the power button again and on. Now we just need to connect the rest of the LEDs to this. But before we do that, we have 3 wires, positive, negative, and data. And Sharpie is going to be my best friend here because we're using white wires. I'm just going to put a mark on the positive and a mark on the data. And I'll know that the blank one is the ground. Cut the other end that we're going to connect to the little chip and do the same exact thing. I'll find these little breadboard wire things over here, just call them lying around. I should have mentioned this in the beginning. I'll leave it linked as well, but it'll make it real easy to connect things to the chip. Connect the power to the pin label VIN, connect the ground to the pin label GND, and connect the data to the pin label D4. Alright, I don't need your judgment right now. I connect it like this just to test everything. Once it works and I'll secure it properly. Plug it in and boom, life, except the whole thing not lighting yet. We're fixing that now. Hit this config button, hit LED preferences, scroll down to where you see LED output and choose the LEDs that you have here. This is where I'll put SK6812. If you choose the other one, this is where you'll put it here as well. Right below that, you'll see a box label length. Take out the default value, put the amount of LEDs on your strip. Yes, you need to count the exact dots on your strip and put it in there. I want to hit save. If everything went according to plan, you should be in a gear. If it didn't, I don't know what to tell you there, boy. Nah, leave a comment. I'll try my best. At this point, if you didn't cut the LEDs, you're done. You could just use it as is. But I'm about to put up the first segment here and then I'll cut the rest for the rest of cupboards. Here the problem though. If I just stick this under the cupboards, look at how they're looking. Geed. That got me so angry, dog. I had to take a break and go and unbox the new sword. That's not a sword, boy, bro. That's actually from the sponsor of this video, Muzata. This gonna allow me to put the LEDs in these little channels, then put the diffuser over it, so it will literally soften the look of the LED and just make it look polished, smooth, and just good to look at. This is what the LEDs will look like with all the hotspots. Like, we don't want that, but as I slide on the cover for the diffuser, you can see just how much of a difference it's making. The exact set I have here was a 6-pack of these U-shaped channels. They're made of aluminum. Each one is 3.3 feet in length. It's super good quality. I couldn't recommend it anymore. It's really and truly a game changer for any LED project. And if you happen to be watching this video thinking to yourself, you know what, maybe I should check it out, you know. Well, Muzata thought ahead. The link below in the description will give you 10% off the normal pricing. So Muzata, I appreciate all your sponsoring this video. If honestly, thank God, boy, because we both know what it will look like without it. First one finish, second one now. Yes, this is literally how I keep a count of every LED I was adding to the strip. Honestly, just look how much more of a finished product that looking like horse. Connect it to the first strip, jump into the LED settings, and of course remove the number that you had before and put the correct number of LEDs that have in the entire strip now. Hit save, and once everything went according to plan, you should be in a gear. If not, and just like that, the first half of the kitchen done. It only take 2 days. yeah, watch me just ignore the measuring tape I was raving about, just the eyeball, this is why you're here. I thought everything was going good until tragedy hit. Alright, so we run into a small problem, boy dog. I thought I could have run this through the cupboard because I thought I had a crack there, would have let me push it through and hide it, but not working. So we just gonna run it with the wires visible for now, and we'll figure out that wire management thing after. Alright, so right here is where things get a little sticky because under here we don't have much space now, so I need to cut a piece of the diffuser, a short piece, but also measure and make sure I leave space for the clips because they can't fit inside. I bet you can't ignore the measuring tape this time. I just added some painter's tape on the actual point I'm going to cut. I don't know why, I just feel like it will make sense in my head.
What happened?
Fall in the bin. Don't forget, once we add the LEDs, we need to replace the link with the new number, hit save, and then it will actually turn on. Slap on the diffuser covers and watch them LED hotspots disappear, and now we just have one final step and we're done. So up until now, we've been powering it through the micro USB port from the laptop, but it's time to wire the power supply in. It's simple, it's not difficult at all, so remember where you connect the positive and negative and data to the actual LEDs from the chip. You're just going to take the positive and negative from the power supply and splice it into that same positive and negative cable. And you're done. Once the power supply plugged in, you can now remove the micro USB cable and it powered directly from the wall. And we have access to a lot more power now. So in the settings where you see it saying the maximum current is 850 milliamps, we want to change that to 2000. I have a power supply that could do way more, but we're just playing it safe for now. 2000, hit save, and you should see the LEDs brighten up. So at the time of editing this video, I've been using the lights for about 2 to 3 weeks. I have zero complaints, zero issues. It looks just the same as a LifeX strip, as a Philips Hue strip, maybe even better, maybe even brighter. The whites super bright, accurate, the colors saturated, and on top of that, as you can see for yourself when I change the colors or turn it on and off, it have a nice smooth fade, which you don't get from most other LED strips, which is something that's super necessary to me. So I'm just gonna stop talking now, we're gonna chill, and now you just watch some of the effects that you can do, and you can judge for yourself if it's better than Philips Hue and LifeX for a fraction of the cost. To me, 100%.
Hello guys, and welcome back to Camex Petra. Today we're going to be reviewing and installing the Muzata Silver LED channel system. When paired with a high density LED light strip, this channel can produce a spotless effect. The channel system has lots of applications and there's plenty of places where you could install it. For us today, we're going to be installing it underneath our bar countertop. The last few weeks since we moved in, we've really been renovating this bar area, trying